Thanks very much for joining us for this edition of the Intermodal Logistics Podcast. I'm Kevin Baxter, joined by my co-host, Intech Logistics President, Shelly Austin. Hi, Shelly.
Hi, Kevin.
And so we actually just a couple of episodes ago talked about a platform dealing with repairs, RapidLink from DCLI for chassis and vehicles, all that sort of stuff. But it sort of prompted the next guest that we have here in this episode, because Reach, the platform, is sort of behind that, but it's also behind a lot of other things in that space as well. And joining us today to talk about Reach is its CEO and co-founder, Paul Burgoyne. Paul, thanks very much for joining us.
Pleasure to be here. I'm glad you're having me. Thank you.
So first, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background in the industry.
Sure. It's been like some intermodal folks. I find once you get in, you don't leave, right? So this is it's been about 28 years for me since I've been in intermodal, and have had a couple different positions here and there, primarily in sales and commercial. And I live in Ohio currently, and am happily married and enjoy golf as a hobby. Other than that, it's been really the entrepreneurial world, I'd say, for the last 10 years for me.
So how did you get into Reach, first of all? I know it actually dates even a little bit further back than that 10-year period that you're talking about.
Yeah, it does. I think, Kevin, the way that I tell the story is all of my career in intermodal, this paradox of intermodalism kind of rears its head, particularly with maintenance, where you have all these players involved with moving freight from A to B, with maybe somebody has a power unit, somebody else has the chassis, and somebody else has the box. And maintenance is a fairly contentious part of that, and sometimes undervalued. And that was always in my DNA, and it was something that I was a part of. And then in 2014-ish timeframe, a large intermodal carrier asked me to come in and do some consulting work on a particular pain point they had. And what that pain point was bias tires, which they were unfamiliar with because they were primarily radial tires in their tractor fleet. So they had a hard time finding service providers to help them keep their freight moving and repair or replace tires, keep things going. And so that was the precursor of Reach. It was a pretty simple siloed, software where this fleet could use this software. It wasn't even named Reach, to identify the optimal service provider and then digitally request the service and then have service execution. So that was really the kind of the genesis of it. And then 2017, we kind of like move into our high school years, I think, where we got DCLI to show interest, Hub Group Trucking showed some interest, Schneider, and then we kind of branded it Reach. I don't really exactly know where that term came from. It just like popped in my head one night. So that's more or less the genesis of it, and we've grown since then. But I am proud to say, speaking to some intermodal peers here, intermodal is hard on software. It's multiple stakeholders, and the owners versus damage versus where was it if there was damage, and so on and so forth. It teaches software a lot of, we have a lot of respect for how hard it is to have multiple stakeholders. And I think that has helped Reach be a pretty strong foundational platform. So we've learned a lot on our journey, that's for sure.
So you talked about the tires as being the genesis, but what all does it really cover in the repair and maintenance space?
Yeah, it's I'm a little surprised to answer this question. I'll answer it truthfully. We're doing some pretty strange stuff, but our focus is class 7 and 8, and power units, trailing units. That's our focus. But our engineers, the smart people on the team, not necessarily me, but the smart people, built Reach to think AAR language as well as VMRS language, which would be commercial vehicles, and class 1 through class 8. And the way they built it it can even be for non-asset. So by way of example, we handle maintenance on EV charging stations. We deal with snow blowers and street sweepers, and we have some pretty odd, event or asset types. That said, our focus is class 7 and 8 and becoming this heavy duty marketplace. That's our goal.
So, getting into a little bit more of the nitty gritty of how it came about. So you got to that initial point. How did you get to that scale up period? Because you're obviously starting with one very specific challenge, and it's broadened considerably.
Indeed, yes. I think maybe it was maybe a bunch of little miracles here and there that helped us on our journey. But we got some big contribution from the likes, again, of Hub Group and DCLI. They pushed us really hard on how we thought about reach. In the case of Hub wanted something that would take into account pre and post trip inspections that could then flow into service event requests. And they really collaborated with us and spent a lot of time on exactly how they wanted it to work, which not all customers really go that deep with you, right? Yeah. And so very, very important, very big break we got with that. I would also say that in the end of 2018, early 2019, we forged a relationship with Bridgestone North America, which that dealer base is very strong in intermodal. So I'll name drop if I may, but the likes of, say, a Southern Tire Mart or a McGriff or a Pomps, a lot of that footprint does a lot in intermodal. And Bridgestone stepped into our journey in a big way, put a lot into the product roadmap, and really helped us think about, hey, this is a two-sided market. It's not just fleets and it's not just providers. To really have a true exchange, you've got to get this chicken and the egg thing moving, right? And so they were very formative in our journey, and we have a lot of respect for that and appreciation, and we still have a good relationship with Bridgestone. That helped us a lot, Kevin, to broaden features and keep Reach as a multi-tenant, multi-customer platform, and have very robust integration, which is, we kind of think of ourselves as a backbone, if you will. Some people want to use our features. Some people would rather just do integration. So there was a lot of horsepower put into that by our partners. So that helped us a lot.
So we talked about DCLI. So a little bit more on that partnership then. Rapid Link, and Rob Finch was on talking about Rapid Link, the new service that they're running, that they've already been running, obviously. Pretty substantial maintenance and repair just in-house, but are expanding that out now. So how is Reach involved in that, and how did that come about, and how is it continuing to grow?
Sure, it's a good question. So our relationship with DCLI started primarily with them as a chassis lessor, and they had a team of dispatch agents who would handle their customers' request for maintenance. Something's happened to a chassis, and back then the customer would call Charlotte and call DCLI and say, hey, I have this maintenance need. And the DCLI, think of it as pre-Rapid Link, the DCLI team would then go into Reach and assign a vendor downstream, and then the workflow would take place. And what started to happen over time is that I think two things happened. One, DCLI's executive leadership team back then, a name dropping, some Bill Shea, who's kind of like a legend in the intermodal community. Shelley's smiling. Well,
yes.
He is. Nevertheless, there started to become this real push to be more than chassis and to make it a real service-focused and solution-focused company. And that put positive pressure on solutions like Reach and others to support that. DCLI executive leadership wanted a better experience, right? And in that experience means busting through the he said, she said. Well, you damaged it. No, I didn't. It's an owner's item, and all of that consternation. And so I think there were a lot of tailwinds there, Kevin. And then just, really the end of last year, leading up to that, DCLI made the decision to create this commercial entity known as RapidLink, where they would leverage all of their horsepower to then take that offering to others. Mm-hmm. They have become, I would say, quite proficient. I'm not boasting about reach. You have to actually execute. Software is only one thing, but they have done a lot to commit to automation. And I believe right now they're at about 52% of everything that comes inbound gets automated downstream through reach. So they've really committed to efficiency. So it'll be interesting. We're grateful to be on that journey alongside RapidLink for sure.
Paul, it sounds like it reaches the Oz behind the curtain to me. It sounds like you're the software that's really, as you mentioned, the backbone. So with that being said, one of the things I always think about technology and software is just how invaluable the information is that you have and that you can maintain, and what that means for the future of, longevity of equipment, just all the different things that can happen from the information that you're able to gain through the reach system or platform.
Yes, I agree. The one thing that we've seen, Shelley, that wouldn't surprise you is that as our fleet customers leverage reach and then connect digitally to service provider and then to technician, now you're getting rich data on a couple critical moments. Did you accept my request? Have you departed for the unit? Are you there? Is the unit repaired? Now, in that workflow, of course, there's things like, did you take pre and post repair photos? There's general compliance things. But from an operating standpoint, that data, if it's rich and it's consistent, yeah, you're running your operation off of it because you know when your assets are truly in good order. So we have seen that behavior. It's not surprising. And what it also means is fleets are starting to expect that quality data, whether it's through reach or other systems, and it needs to be consistent. When I throw you the football, you got to catch it.
Yeah.
And once you catch it, you got to get to the unit. And so this is, it's a very exciting thing to see. And I think that empirically, it starts to cut out phone, email, and it allows the two key stakeholders in the whole equation, which is driver and technician, because the rest of us are really transaction cost, if you think of it. So yes, it's been a long journey. Intermodal moves at its own pace, but we're excited to see the results for sure.
So number all over your website, 19 million events and counting. So what exactly is an event and what does that mean? And I mean, 19 million of anything sounds like a lot. So
sounds pretty impressive.
So yeah.
Well, I can thank our marketing people. They like big numbers, right? But so to answer that fair question discreetly, we have two types of events, if you will. One is an inspection record. So a driver may do a pre or post trip inspection. An inspector or a manager may do a general inspection. We also have what is really the backbone of reach, which is service event request. So you think of those two things as separate. We count them separate. The equipment inspections are a large number. On service events, we're doing about 9,000 a day right now for service event alone. And again, as a humble reminder, the way reach thinks is an equipment inspection with a defect may then turn into a service event, or the fleet might put it into a bucket list for the next maintenance event that occurs. So that's where the 19 million comes from. And if you do the math, 9,000 a day, it's a pretty good amount of activity. And I'm knocking on wood that our engineers have done a good job, that the system has been very stable. We did go through a couple speed bumps as the younger company, and they were very painful. So we have a lot of respect for the piping and the foundation of a good platform. So yeah, so that's where that number comes from.
Well, 9,000 a day, that's a pretty good number too. Yeah, when you think about it.
I would say so, yes.
There's a lot of equipment in intermodal and commercial trucking. We think that, interestingly, there isn't an index that we can use that tells us exactly how many repairs are in the United States for class 7 and 8. But we think that we're about 1.8% of the total at about 9,000 a day. There's a lot of equipment in the United States, for sure. So, yeah. So on the one hand, it's a large number. On the other hand, you look at it and it's quite humbling that we're not even at 2% of what exists.
So what do you think in regards to you have impressive numbers right now, but the way it feels like in the intermodal space, especially for us, things are kind of soft right now. There's a lot of capacity, a lot of excess equipment, and we're all seeing that. When things turn around and demand increases, it feels like that's when it'll really be put to the test, because maybe sometimes people can look aside on repairing a chassis or look aside on repairing, a container because they have extras sitting around. But when demand increases, that's when somebody's trying to pull an old 48-footer onion box out of retirement so you can throw something on there to get it moving. So tell me a little bit about your thoughts on, has it really been put to the test maybe earlier, but we're all hoping this pendulum swings in a very rapid way that these services will really be critical just to keep everything flowing.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And so I think my humble view on kind of our swim lane in the greater context of intermodalism and is there excess capacity and so on and so forth is really, Shelley, to focus on that equation of driver and technician. We think historically they've been underappreciated. And right now, the technician really drives everything. So there's kind of an ongoing argument. Is it a lack of technicians or is it a lack of technician efficiency that's causing some issues there? I'm coming to the answer or part of the answer to your question. We think that the system is still in pain. And what I mean by that is we hear from our provider partners that they think their average technician is wasting between 30 and 50% of their day, even if they're on a discrete location like a terminal, right? That's massive.
Right.
In addition to that, it's not the easiest thing for a fleet to say, hey, provider, here's all of the maintenance activity that I would like. Here's my demand that I would like to put on you and your location and your technicians such that there's better planning and you're getting super efficient. We're just kind of starting to really see the fruits of that. So this is a way for me to attempt to answer a pretty hard question that you're asking. Pressure on maintenance spend and maintenance efficiency, I don't think is going away for like a really long time, if ever. And pressure to be more efficient with the manpower we have while creating a better driver experience, particularly in intermodal, is likely to not go away for a very long time either. So it'll be interesting to see where things go, but I can't see that ending for quite a while, actually.
I agree.
Yeah.
So what is the visibility gap that Reach is already bridging right now, and what are you looking to continue to do there?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let me preface it, because I want to be the humble guy, that it also depends again on our customers and their use of our features. But if they're using the features in full, it literally allows you as a fleet to see the technician and their progress, not only in data points, but literally like Uber, if you will. So you can literally see, here comes the technician. We're also emboldening our asset tables and planned maintenance, so it's easier for fleets to say, here is my scheduled maintenance that's coming, and I'm going to bulk upload my demand by location, by vendor. So you're kind of giving, Kevin, the supply side a little bit of advance warning. Hey, I've got 50 FMCSAs coming up next week. Be prepared. It's a good thing, right? So we also have done a lot with Reach for communication purposes. So live chat, you can add people, you have confidential comments. So in some ways, Reach is kind of a communication platform that focuses on maintenance, I'd say. And we also have some things in there that make it easy to find where a driver is, text to locate. We have share event for someone who's not on the Reach platform. So we try to really make visibility the central theme behind Reach. And that's where we're driving value for our customers. Most people don't want to be on phone and email unless they have to be, right? Yeah. So we're trying to keep that, and the more direct the connection between driver and technician, the more it allows other stakeholders to watch. That is an ideal use case. Driver requests, technician engages, everybody else is watching. That's not always the case, but that's what we strive for.
So back to the data, because this is really what's driving me is you probably see common maintenance issues pop up over and over and over again. So that could be a huge resource, I would think, for whatever equipment that you're working with and whoever your customer is, to know what's the most common repetitive thing that's causing all these maintenance requirements.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. And in our journey, at least to this point, we've had some customers say, you should get into the data sciences and prescriptive and predictive and that whole space. We have tried, Shelley, to stay a little bit truer to the actual workflow, but we recognize Reach already has a ton of data, and we know that we should do more with that data for the community. You could have a podcast with our CIO, Ash Gar, and he'd be all over that for a whole 45 minutes. We still would like to say, again, respectfully to the community, that there's so much to do there. And there's a whole conversation about telematics, right? But we have to have the foundation of being digital to leverage some of that, right? So I guess all I could say to your point, which is salient, is if Reach can contribute to the value of the community through our data, we're happy to do it. For now, we're kind of leaning on dashboards and reporting that help our individual customers. Mm-hmm. But that's certainly something that we would look at.
Well, you mentioned you need to have that digital adoption. So take us back a little bit to how people used to handle this situation, any of these situations, really, like a maintenance request, pre-apps, pre all of that. And, how slow was that procedure? Obviously, it's pretty clear there was no visibility. It was all based on whether somebody might answer a phone and explain something, I would guess. But take us through sort of the analog version, and are people still using that analog version a little bit more than you'd like?
Well, the answer is yes, because I want Reach to handle more than 2% of the entire market. The truth of the matter is that, and by the way, I'm kind of guilty of this too in my own personal life. I'll start adopting something when I kind of feel like I have to, right? So I don't know if anybody else is, but I am. There's still a ton of phone and email and spreadsheet, 100%. Do I know the exact number? No, but it's very large. Like the middle, 40 to 60% is still phone and email and spreadsheet. Yeah. The metrics around it, Kevin, are, well, because you're not digital, it's kind of hard to have really good metrics, but a couple data points that are interesting. We work with some call centers and also some dispatch teams at fleets. The touch points per email and phone transaction to all parties could be in the neighborhood between 21 and 32 touch points for one service request. We recently had a call center share with us that it costs them $41 per event when it's analog. And the amount of pain is very difficult to measure, right? You can measure time, but when we interview drivers, we ask them, well, what do you like and what do you dislike and everything? And they said, look, across the board, the real pain is when I call or create an event and I don't know anything for 45 minutes, I'm already really burnt. Even if it only took an hour and 15 minutes total, the fact that I'm in the dark and I'm not connected really hurts. So, and nobody can afford to have disgruntled drivers and technicians now. We literally, as a market, we can't afford it. Mm-hmm. So whether it's Reach or us in a combination of other things, the market's going to solve this. There's no question about it, because you just can't afford to lose drivers and hire drivers and lose technicians. It's not sustainable. Mm-hmm.
So where's the sort of balance between planned and unplanned? Obviously, you're dealing with situations that you can't plan when there's a maintenance issue, but there's also the planned maintenance inspections, as you said. So where's that sort of balance there in terms of how much you see on the platform?
Yeah, I appreciate the question, because maybe it'll help me with our brand challenge, if you will. So we cut our teeth on quote unquote road service, which is really not roadside. It's lumped in. It's a misnomer. Unplanned maintenance is how we cut our teeth in intermodal. We are now building out all of our planned maintenance functionality so that if someone wanted to, they could use Reach across the board, planned and unplanned. We are proud of our journey, because unplanned is hard. There's a lot. That's when you need to be Johnny on the spot. What is ideal is when we can help our fleet customers move the percentage over to planned. It's more efficient, save money. You're helping your provider because you're giving them more notice on your demand. And then when there's unplanned maintenance, Reach and the provider, we can't take credit for how good technicians are, is Johnny on the spot. That's what winning looks like for our customers. So it's really marrying the two. And what we're trying to do as a brand is say, we're not just road service anymore. We're M&R. We're not just unplanned or road service. So it's been it's been a journey for sure.
So in the visibility space, you mentioned obviously the driver and the technician as the key parties, but you also mentioned that there are others who can sort of follow along as well.
Yes. So common use cases there, Kevin, would be that inside of our large customer organizations, you might have customer-facing folks that would like to be observers, and they are interested in the freight moving that's on the equipment that needs repair. That's a logical use case where, again, eliminate phone and email and plug them in so they can watch. On the service provider side, of course, store managers and those who are managing technicians, shippers, somebody who would like to step back and be able to see what's happening at this DC, what's happening with the good order, bad order equipment. That's also a logical observer, if you will. And then we connect to telematics players as well. So in that case, it kind of depends. That's still typically the fleet who's really monitoring the inbound telematics. Those are some examples of those who would watch. Now, our CIO has some big dream that someday there's going to be this hyperledger connection to like the freight and shipping market so that we can feed them with information on what's breaking down, what's ready, and so on and so forth. I'm from the Midwest, so I'm a little bit closer to let's solve some problems like right now. But I do think we'll start plugging into other networks that need to know, is the equipment in good order? Because you can't move it unless the equipment supports it, right?
Right.
So you mentioned a lot of this has been about intermodal, but it seems like it would obviously transfer over to truckload space as well. Are you working with truckload carriers too?
Yes, we are. We've got a pretty good presence in intermodal. We always, we want to continue to grow with our great intermodal customers. And over the last year and a half or so, we've made a pretty big push to become more exposed to the LTL fleets and that whole market. And we're making progress. They have the same pain that intermodal has, which is driver satisfaction and technician efficiency and technician, satisfaction as well. So that those challenges are pervasive and not just in intermodal. So we're excited to be in that space. Reach talks and thinks in commercial trucking language as well as intermodal language. So as I had mentioned to earlier, it's there to execute. Now we just got to get our sales folks, including me, to start knocking down more deals. So it's exciting.
So speaking of that, what's the next big thing for Reach?
The next big thing for Reach.
Yeah.
The next big thing for Reach is to finish asset tables and plan maintenance. Bring the fleet feature set up to where the service provider feature set is. Stay focused, stay on course, and also don't get distracted with things that we'll never be. We'll never be an accounting system. We'll never be ERP, CRM, et cetera. Stay right here where we think we can bring the most value. We will continue to hammer away on automation, Shelley, as the customers are in better position to embrace it. I've had so many executives over the last 10 years say, well, why can't I just automatically send the event from the driver like to the technician? It's like, well, yeah, yes, come on a long journey with us and we'll see if we can get there, because today you're using phone and email and you're asking me why you can't just jump, right into into that space. But automation drives value. It reduces cost. It improves the experience. And yes, the buzzword of the day, AI, which I like to think of as automation, right?
Right.
So that will be an ongoing focus for us. So I feel like our roadmap is right in front of us. We got to commit, stay disciplined, build it out, and just keep growing and paying attention to our customers. They are telling us what they want. So if we can listen and be responsive, I think the next big thing for Reach is just that: finish asset tables, plan maintenance, and allow Reach to start behaving like a true stock exchange. I want to buy something and you want to sell it. Can it be clean and clear so we both have a confidence level? Yes. I want to buy something from Kevin and he wants to sell it to me. That's exactly what we want for Reach. We want it to be that backbone.
Well, you mentioned the AI piece. Since you brought it up, it's obviously something that gets integrated into a lot of conversations these days. But so Shelley was talking about all the data that you already have. So that's got to help in terms of feeding AI to enhance your offerings, really.
It does. And I shouldn't diminish the power of it because it's truly remarkable, right? Maybe I'm just intimidated, but a couple of the things we're doing right now is, number one, deploying AI to help analog get to digital. Something as simple as reading a PDF invoice. It's like one example, right? We're also leveraging it to help rationalize the optimal service provider, which sounds easy. It's not easy. We're leveraging AI to help us think through, how do you confidently auto assign a service provider? Because you don't want a false positive, just like with telematics, because then you lose confidence. The other thing we're doing, of course, like most companies, is leveraging it internally, right? So those are some of the ways that we're deploying it right away.
So we talked about different companies that you're already working with, but if somebody's watching or listening, or I always say watching or listening, watching and or listening to this, tell somebody how they can get involved and learn more.
Sure. Thank you. Our website, reach24.net, would be like the first place I'd probably point somebody. If they'd like to email us, explore@reach24.net. Or if they want to get in touch with me, just come through LinkedIn. We're kind of a small, open, hippie type company. So if we can ever help or connect with anyone, we're all about it. So that's how they connect with us. Just reach out, if you will. Pun intended.
Very good. Very good.
I'm guessing that's not the first time you've used that one.
No, it was kind of part of the plan, I guess. But yeah. Sure.
No, we appreciate it, Paul. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you, Paul.
I appreciate the opportunity. You guys were wonderful. Appreciate the time. Thank you.
Take care.
So we went from sort of the front-facing bit with Rapid Link a few episodes ago, and that brought us to the behind the scenes here. And so very interesting to hear sort of an engine that makes the behind the scenes part run.
Yeah, I'm fascinated. And learning all these things. And if you think about just a few years ago, we didn't have these resources to help keep the supply chain moving, I guess is the best way I'll put it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're only on the cusp of it. So with folks like Reach and then Rapid Link and these types of things, that is all there to help support and keep freight moving, which again, as Paul mentioned, it makes a happier driver. It makes a happier shipper. It makes, a happier broker. I mean, so that's what's important, because really the things that cause problems in our industry are the hiccups. It's those milestones that stop you in your forward movement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, the app interface thing, we've had a few now where we've been able to sort of use Uber and other things like that as examples. I mean, why not use it in the freight industry? It's obviously something that people are used to dealing with on their day-to-day lives. And now there's an expectation sort of associated with that not only you can press a few buttons and make something happen, but you can also see what's happening as you're doing it.
Absolutely.
So we thank Paul again for taking the time to join us. And you can find the link in the description as to what he was talking about and getting in touch with the Reach there. You can get in touch with us by subscribing or following us. However you get this podcast, please do rate and review us, comment any questions that you have. And you can also email us at podcast@intechlogistics.com if you have any questions that way as well. You can also visit our website, www.intechlogistics.com, to learn more about Intech Logistics. Shelley, thank you very much for another great episode.
Always enjoy it, Kevin. Thank you.
And we'll talk to you again soon.